Hello, welcome back to another much needed and much awaited episode of Classic Mini Restoration with me, Mini Tom. So if you haven't already, please like, subscribe, because there's, and I promise you, some very interesting content coming up. I have picked up the new car. It's taken me a while to get it out to you guys because I've been on holiday and things get in the way. But I have picked up the new car. I will split to that in a few minutes and show you what it is and tell you about it. It's not a Mini, but it is a Mini. But I'll go through all that with you anyway. Now, I presume on this video I'm going to get a little bit of hate. And that's because I'm going to do something which I believe myself is sacrilegious to do to any car. But it was the best advice I've been given and it's the best option for me. But I'll touch on that in a bit. So this episode is going to be about getting the engine on my Mini ready to drop out. I'm going to see what I can get done. I'm not setting anything up for, I've got nothing planned. I'm going to try and get the intake off, the exhaust back off, which I've just put on, as you know. Try and get the engine so it's ready to drop out, but I'm going to be doing it from, dropping the subframe and engine out together and lifting the body over the engine with the engine crane. That's the hope, purely because I've got a new subframe down here, I've got new parts refurbished for it, so it's literally a case of just putting everything together and putting in a new engine. Yeah, so the engine, this is where I say it gets a bit sacrilegious. The car that I've got came with a 1275 in it, and it's not just any 1275. It's actually it's an A series, so it's pre-A plus, and I'll talk a little bit about the differences when I show the engine. So it's pre-A plus. It's an 11 stud head as standard. It's got a HS6 carb on it. It's not an engine which was sold in the UK. Well, it was sold in the UK, I suppose, but it wasn't, you couldn't buy a Mini with that engine, I suppose. This is an Italian spec engine, which means Innocenti. Yeah. So, we're going off on a bit of a tangent. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop nattering on because you're going to get confused with what I'm saying. I'm going to show you the new car that's arrived. And I'll talk a bit about that, and then I'll show you the engine, which is currently sat right next to me. So yeah, let's do that. There it is. Pussy. There it is. There you are, look. Proof that it is a Mini. And what this is, it's converted. It shouldn't be a convertible, it should have a roof on the back a bit like a Metro, but someone's cut the roof of it off and put that roll bar over it and T-barred it, and there's no actual roof cover for it, that's why it's under a tarpaulin. MG Metro turbo alloys, I believe, quite rare. And then if I open the bonnet up, you will see a big empty space. So you can see Mini subframe, what looks to be a Mini bulkhead but extended, Mini wiper motor. What else have we got that's Mini? Mini clutch, possibly Mini brakes, but I'm not sure. This car has got the Cooper brake discs and calipers on it, but I think they'll be staying with the car. It's drums on the back, so the rear subframe is a little bit different. It's been extended and widened to make it fit this car, but it is a Mini subframe. So it's all on donuts, it's pretty much a Mini. Front mounted radiator, which is pretty cool, came with a fan as well. Inside it's got Mini steering column, Mini pedals. It had the rod change gearbox, obviously because it's a Mini. Mini handbrake. It's got nothing on the dashboard is Mini. This is all Innocenti. The niece actually thought that was where you put your old-fashioned CDs. Yeah, they're called tapes, but same thing. The dashboard, I think, is amazing. Let me see if I can get that on there. I mean, look at that. I think that dashboard is cool as. Proper cool. Seats, dead comfy. Obviously, rear seat. And yeah, that's the Innocenti. So what I'll do, I'll bring you back inside the garage and we'll have a bit of a chat about it. Right, so what is that car? That is a 1974 BMC Innocenti Mini 120L. That's what it is. So the story goes, and this is from the research that I've done, there's not many of these cars around, extremely rare in the UK, quite sought after in Italy and Spain, Portugal, that sort of thing. Not many of them around at all anymore, so like I said, extremely rare. So BMC, in their wisdom, they owned Innocenti at one point back in the 70s. 1974, they actually spoke to Bertone. You may know him from designing Ferraris, etc. They actually approached him and said, we want a new Mini. And rumour has it that that car was supposed to replace the Mini. So in 1974, BMC started producing cars. It's not a kit car, that is actually a BMC car, for those that don't know. So BMC made this car between 1974 and 1976, and it was classed as the Innocenti Mini 120L, or you could have it as I think it was a 90L, which was a 998 cc, that's a 1275. And they supplied the engines and everything else. And like I said, the engines, it's the same engine that you'd get in an Innocenti Cooper, or a Mini Innocenti, actual round nose Mini that you all know familiar. The Innocenti version of that was the same engine. So I have it on good authority from Paul Jeffries, who spoke to the owner of, or the secretary of the Innocenti Club, that the engine that I have here is basically the Italian version of the Cooper of that era. So you have the GT, the 1275 GT here, and you have the British Mini Cooper here, and this engine will sit about in the middle between what is about 95% Cooper, from what I've been told. Now that's what I've been told. I don't know the full ins and outs of that, but from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing, that's a pretty good engine. So anyway, we'll talk about the engine soon. So 1976, I believe, and I'm thinking off my head here, so I might be wrong. 1976, BMC went into administration, and they sold Innocenti off to De Tomaso, which was an Italian car manufacturing company, a car tuning company or something. But anyway, De Tomaso owned Innocenti, and De Tomaso continued making that car, the one that I've just shown you. They continued making that until 1980, I believe. And it was powered with motors from, or engines from, you know, BMC, Austin, whoever, I don't know the ins and outs, British Land, whatever. It was powered by their unit, so the A series engine is what powered it up until 1980. 1980 came, and De Tomaso thought, we need a bit of a revamp, so we'll do that. And they basically put a grille on the front of it, and some body arches and things like that. And they changed the engine, unfortunately, from the A series engine to a Daihatsu 3-cylinder lump. I don't know. And they marketed that as the De Tomaso, which was the same sort of car, but a little bit different, you know, updated as such. And they continued making that over there. So with De Tomaso, as you might have seen, I believe Mini Dobbin might have one, or somebody. So that's what I've been told. I don't know for sure. So that car as it sits is tax MOT exempt. I actually got it off a chap local to me who lives 15 minutes away from my house, would you believe? He had it sat in his garage for years. They bought it, well, it started off its life in Cyprus. They converted it to a convertible. It got shipped over to here in 1976, registered, and then, you know, various people have owned it, and now I've come to own it. It's been off the road for quite a long time. Does need a little bit to get it back on the road, but as it stands, and this is what I've been told from various people that I've spoken to about this sort of car, because I don't know exactly what it is. I've no idea. I've never seen one in my life before. I have been told that the first question that got asked was, does it have the engine in it? And obviously the answer is yes. And I basically got told that because the roof's been cut and it's non-standard anymore, the value wouldn't be as good as if it was as it should be. So I was basically told, whatever you do, keep the engine, because the engine's worth a ton of money. It doesn't run. It has coughed and spluttered. I have tested it in the car before I took it out, but I wasn't getting oil pressure, so I was a bit dubious about doing anything else with it apart from getting it to cough and splutter. So I know it will run. The compression tests were all good. It was all over 200 psi in the engine. I've no reason to doubt the engine. It's had a lot of money spent on it, keeping up with it and stuff. And I think it's fairly low mileage as well. So I've no reason to doubt it. I just wanted to get some sort of thing. Anyway, I have got oil pressure, and I'll talk about that with you in a bit. Where was I? I'm sorry, I'm really rambling on this one. So I've come to own it, and I was basically told, keep the engine. The car's not worth so much. If I was to sell the car and the engine together, it wouldn't fetch as much money as me keeping the engine and selling it separately, or keeping it for myself, which is what I'm going to do, and just getting rid of the car. So the car will be for sale. I'm looking at the Mini guys on the YouTube channels and the WhatsApp guys. They know that I wanted a 1275, and the fact that I've got one sat here, which is actually a really special one, is well worth its weight in gold for me, to be fair. So that'll be going in my Mini and be treasured and loved. So, like I say, it's sacrilegious for me to not so much break a car, but to pull something out of it which belongs into it. That is, you know, it goes against things that I believe in, but at the same time, I'm doing it to better my own car, and something that I want to do. So, if you're gonna hate it, then you know what, that's fine. I can't blame anyone for hating that I've taken the engine out and it's no longer as it should be. I completely understand if you don't like that, but I'd rather be here, be truthful with you now, and say that is what I'm doing. So yeah, that's the car. I'll talk you through the engine. Sorry, it's a lot of talking in this one, but I'm just, you know, we'll get through it. So apologies if the lighting's not great, but this is the lump. Now, if you have a look on Guessworks at that engine number, it doesn't even come up. I did manage to find a number matching that somewhere, which did confirm this is an Innocenti engine. Now you can see there, it's got a stud there, well, a bolt there, and it's got another stud there. So definitely 11 stud. The numbers all match up from the head to the, you know, this is an Innocenti engine. You can see, easiest way of telling if it's an A plus or an A series. So an A series block has this adapter plate here. Now on the A plus it stops about here, but on the A series this adapter comes to here. That's because the dynamo was longer. So that's a good way of telling us that these are further away than where they should be. You've also got an older style distributor, which not so hard to tell sometimes. If you've got a starter motor, it'll be pre-engaged. The most obvious thing you can look at to tell is your clutch arm is a lot longer. So normally on an A plus, your clutch arm stops about here, and there's a little bracket which holds your slave cylinder just there in a downwards angle. On the A series, the clutch slave cylinder is horizontal and the clutch arm is longer. So that's a very easy way to tell if it's an A series and A plus engine. There's also things about the back and what have you. Now, this one doesn't have, now apparently the 1275 Cooper engine was the only one to have tappet chest covers, the 1275. This one doesn't have them. So it is pretty much a 1275 GT engine, which had been tweaked to be a more of a Cooper spec. Came as standard with a HS6 carburetor from Innocenti, so thank you very much for that one. That'll be going back on. And this was quite unique, which a few of the guys were interested in. This inlet manifold, well, the exhaust is standard anyway, but the inlet manifold, there you go, the British Leyland plug of death. This is a British Leyland original inlet manifold. Obviously it's an alloy one. Now I was going to put this on my car, but I've been advised not to do that, purely because if I break it, I've just wasted an extremely rare part, so that'll be going in a box, and I'll be using my existing one. So that's the engine. Compression test, I got 210 psi, 200, 200, 200. I know that the head's been off before the car came off the road, the head was skimmed. All the work's been done by a garage local to me, which are very, very reputable. They're still going now, and there's literally thousands of pounds worth of receipts for this car. So the compression's fantastic, it turns over lovely. I have put a new ignition system on it, just to obviously get some life into it, and I put some easy start down the carb, just to get a bit of a cough out of it and a splutter, and it worked. It did come as standard with an oil cooler, but I was, like I say, struggling to get oil pressure and struggling to read it. So I've put a new oil pressure switch in. I've changed the oil cooler for my tube which goes from the oil filter to there. So that would have been standard. It would have been an oil cooler which came down here and across and then back into there, but I'm not going to fit an oil cooler. I just don't see the point in them. The driving that I'm doing in this thing, I'm not going to be revving the hell out of it, so it doesn't really need one. But to get oil pressure, because it's been sat for so long, this is a good tip for anyone that's got an engine that's been sat. Undo this banjo bolt here and undo that union just there. Be careful because they can bend the pipe. So just take them off really gently. And what you need to do, you need to pour oil into there at the same time as turning your crank. Now, but I think from memory it was that way. You need to turn it anti-clockwise if you're looking at it from the front on. And by turning it anti-clockwise, you will suck oil in that gallery there straight into the oil pump, and that will prime the oil pump. As soon as I did that, and as soon as I turned it over on the bench, which is why, as soon as I did that, I basically got oil pressure. The light went straight out. So, oil pressure's good, from what I can gather. The engine seems like a good one. Obviously, clutch and gearbox is untested at this stage, but, I've got no reason to doubt any of that. So the next steps for this is to get it all cleaned up, get it painted. I'll be going brake caliper red, painting the gearbox silver, and dressing a few other little bits and pieces up. I will be putting an electronic ignition kit in here as well when I get around to getting one. But yeah, so that's the engine. You can tell it's obviously. Oh, that's another thing as well. If it's an early head, this is flat, whereas on an A+ head, I think it's recessed a little bit. But yeah, that's not important anyway. Obviously, there's no fan bolted to it because the fan's on the front of the radiator, but I can change that for mine. I believe the water pump's standard. It's still got the bypass hose for the thingy as well, for the head. So, yeah, that's it. I am absolutely chuffed with this engine. Anyway, I really feel like I've absolutely rambled and bored you all to death. I apologise if I have. I just wanted to basically show you what I had and what it is and what I'm doing with it. So, as I mentioned, that'll be going in, you can't really see it, but I've got a subframe there that's all painted up, wheels as well, which you've seen. That engine will be going in there, and it'll basically be a full assembly, so suspension attached to it, the wheels probably even will be attached to it, the brakes, etc. They'll all be attached to it, and we'll basically just lift the body of the Mini back over it. And then hook a few things up, get it started, and I can drive it on this lovely field at the back of here. But we'll see. The first thing I need to do is really get on with getting this engine unattached, basically. So yeah, I'll flip the camera around and we'll do a bit on that. I'm not going to do too much on this video because I think it's going to be a bit more of a talking video, this one, and I'll do another video of me actually doing some more work to it. So I think, just to wrap up this video, what I'm going to do, don't know if you can see there, but that's not flat like the other one is. Anyway, what I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to explain to you the process of how we're going to actually change all this sort of stuff over. So basically, you have a bolt here and a bolt there. That's your front subframe mounts on your teardrops. You've got a bolt there, a big bolt going into your turret there, and one on the other side. And then you've got two bolts going into your floor for your rear subframe mounts. We're loosening all them off, but we're making sure that brake union's cracked off there. That one can stay in. We'll make sure the fuel lines are off. We'll make sure we undo the inlet manifold, the exhaust, etc. We've got to undo the brake, the clutch union, which is just there, which I recently replaced anyway, so now that'll come off easily. You've got to undo that. You've got your speedo cable, you've got your heater matrix hoses, you've got your starter motor electrics to undo, various other things like that. Simple as that. Things like that to undo. Oil pressure switch if it's still hooked up. Coolant hoses I've mentioned. And then once you've done all that, you can basically pick the body of the Mini up and then push it backwards or pull the engine out forwards, whichever you're doing. Gear linkage as well needs to come off. But aside from that, that's pretty much it. So it's pretty straightforward to do. It took me literally an hour, and I told the YouTube guys when I did it, when I started it and when I finished it, it was literally an hour to get the engine out of that car from start to finish. So yeah, what I'll do, hang on, there you can just see it, just sight back there, look. What I'll do, I'm going to end the video there. I'm sorry it's been an absolute talking one. If you've been bored by it, I'm sorry. If you don't like the fact I'm doing it, I'm sorry. But, I'm not going to change that. It's happening. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I'm sorry it's not what you wanted to come for, but you know, that's the car. The next video will be me basically getting this engine when it come out. So, you know, thanks for watching. Cheers.